it's Crystal.
Good
That's exciting. Hey.
morning.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. So we're going to do this morning a little bit different. Can I tell you a funny story about what happens when you kind of ignore where your bookmark is and you read 3 chapters?
What did you
Then I just started reading the next section and read the same chapters, and then I got to the end of the 3rd and I knew that it was supposed to be the end of the section. I'm like, okay, there's another chapter. That's not right. And then I looked back.
It's a little bit weird because it restarts at chapter 1 again.
I know.
Like that's a little bit.
But I got really excited because I really, really love chapter 5 in the next section. So I'm really excited for getting there. It's really good.
That's awesome. I'm excited for that.
So anyway, we went back and it's all good. So we are going to outline the 3 concepts, because we did 4, 5, and 6, correct? Just making sure, because yeah, we did 4, 5, and 6. We were supposed to discuss 3, and I think that there was some discussion on 3 in the chat. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to outline what those 3 concepts were, and then we're wanting to have a bit of discussion this morning just generally on those 3 topics, and try to keep this maybe a little bit shorter than normal. We don't need to go page by page, but yeah, just found this all really interesting. So chapter 4 is called An Easy Way to Become a Conversationalist. And the principle, sorry, just making sure that I'm not skipping pages, was be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. Then how to interest people, talk in terms of other person's interests. And then chapter 6 was how to make people like you instantly, make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. And then I liked that at the end they had a good little roundup there on all of the 6 principles. Mm-hmm. So, and Carrie's joining us too. I was thinking about Carrie this morning. I was like, I bet Carrie has got lots of for instances in her profession where she has used a lot of these principles to her benefit in good conversation. So does anybody have any, not necessarily takeaways, but thoughts of how a situation has played out? Maybe a situation that you have gone through that now you look at these principles and go, gee, you know what, I could have used those and it could have changed the outcome. Or you unknowingly use these very smart principles and got a good outcome. I think that's what really, I don't want to say shocked me, but what I really took away from this was that how easy it was to come out with a positive outcome by following the principles.
I keep going back to the fact that this book was written such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I look at the principles and my mind goes to that era and how different it was then to now. But was it really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lifestyle-wise, yes. I believe people probably made more time for conversation. Social gatherings were probably more highlighted, whereas a lot of our connecting is done like this, virtually, right? And so when you look at that nutshell and you think of the 1940s to now, it really is no different. There is no difference. People are people. It worked then and it'll work now. It's not going to make a difference of what the era was and what the world offered. People still haven't.
No, they haven't. Does anybody have any thoughts? Don't be shy. The other thing that just absolutely blows my mind, and again, congratulations for all of you guys who have been here like pretty much every week with us doing this book. Why would you not want to read a book with this topic? I mean, first chapter is 6 ways, like we're this whole section is 6 ways to make people like you. I can use some help being more likable.
Yeah. And it's not.
Carrie, you look like you're going to say something.
Well, hi, good morning, everybody. What you had said is that I've been using these principles without even realizing how important they are, just because that's who I am. And I guess I've learned these things from people who I surround myself with, or the personal development that I've done over the years. And this kind of wraps it up all into a nutshell. You know what? You make the other people feel important. I've been doing that with my staff all these years, and obviously I've grown to that, but it makes a huge difference, right? When you make it all about them, and be a good listener to what they're telling you. And one of the things that I keep sharing is that when I hire my staff, or when I meet somebody new, I try to remember the things that are important to them. If they say that they like pink tulips is their favorite flower, I remember that. So when it's time to do something nice for them, I'll remember that it's pink tulips. And so not only is the gesture that I'm doing for them important and grateful, but the fact that it's something that's equally important to them. I have my staff fill out an all about me form when I first hire them to tell me the things that are important to them. And when I want to do something, it helps me get to know them, and I can use that in conversation. So it deepens our relationship, and it helps me make them feel important. So it's all of those small things, making it all about them, being a good listener, being empathetic, and really being their cheerleader. You don't know what's going on in someone's personal life outside of your conversation and interaction with them. And so if you can make them feel like the most special person in the world when you're with them, and how you genuinely care, I think that can absolutely go miles. And, that solidifies the relationship. And so when you want to influence something in the workplace or personal, you have that currency, that it's there, that they trust you, and they know that you truly care. And so that has really worked well for me. And it was great to see that all kind of wrapped up in this book.
Absolutely. Do you think that similar action, like having an all about me page or something like that for us to extend to new ambassadors, do you think that would be a really good step in the right direction as far as building that influence with people, especially when we're looking at markets like Instagram or whatever, where people they're just following you, but you don't have a reciprocal relationship.
Right. And it helps you find things in common, because people bond over things in common. I mean, I remember the night I met you, Janelle, when, we were talking about, health, first of all, and then, you said you're an RCMP wife. It's like, okay, well, just in that short conversation, we connected, because I too, my husband is with the RCMP. So, as we learn more about each other, we connected, and then your relationship starts to develop. And so I think that's a great idea for a new ambassador to come on board, and you can really help understand who they are as a human being, and what makes them tick, what their passions are, if you will. And then you might find that you both love to watch the same TV show, and then that there's a connection right there that can lead to other connections as well.
Absolutely. I find that a lot of times when we start with new ambassadors, we do a lot of the talking, because we're having to tell them, so here's this testimony, or here's this, or here's how you want to take this, and here's this piece, and this, and this, and this. Right. But this would balance the conversation out a little bit, even though you ask good questions of that person so that you can serve them better. I do find that there is a point where you are sending tons of videos or tons of text, or that kind of thing. Yeah. And so doing something like this would kind of tip that scale back, so that person is doing more talking about themselves, and solidifying that relationship. Oddly enough, in the chapters that I read later, this is going to be very important.
No, I think it's fantastic. And one of the things we're promoting, and I talked about that yesterday, is the community. People are also looking for that positive community. And I think that that will show them that we really care about them as a person. You know, yes, the business, and yes, helping others, and yes, helping their health, but we want to get to know them because we're bringing them into, and they've chosen to become into the Plexus family. And so that's how I view that with my staff members and anybody new that I bring onto my team. But that can equally be the same thing for the Plexus family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whew. That's good. Marge is writing stuff down.
Yeah.
Which is really good. I'm in an office. I have nothing. Like, I got my pens.
There's paper in the printer behind you. There you go.
There's a whole stack. There's a whole stack of paper right here at my feet. Like literally an entire stack. Okay.
You know, there's like, I relate to Carrie in the fact that when you've been in the work world for so many years, like we were talking yesterday among a group of people, doing personality tests when you are applying for a job is actually very common nowadays. Mm-hmm. And it's that recognition of understanding that not every personality is going to be good for every position, right? And it's that knowledge of strengths and leadership are going to be better in certain positions. And so a friend of mine was talking to me and she said, you know, I'm that servant. I'm like, I want someone to tell me what to do, and then I just want to do the work. I don't want to have the responsibility. There's nothing on my back, you know, and I'll just go and do my work. And then I asked her, so how about when you come into a situation, you're really loud, Janelle.
Sorry, I'm trying to not move anymore. I'm good. Okay,
I think it's your mic. Like your mic on your shirt. You don't have to mute. I was just wondering if that was interrupting. But she mentioned that she didn't want that. She just wanted someone to tell her what to do, and then that's a path that she would follow. And she felt that she was capable of doing that job. She would just do that job to the best of her ability, right? And to me, that's like a yellow in Plexus, right? A yellow just wants to serve. They just want to help someone. They just want to do a good job. And then I asked her and I said, so in this scenario, if you came into a situation and there was a list of things that needed to be done and you were on a time crunch and there was a bunch of people standing around, not knowing what to do, what would you do? Because I wanted to see where her, you know, what do these people see? And she said, I don't know, probably stand behind someone, wait for them to tell me what to do. And I said, see, there you go. There you go. That's, you know, your strength is in serving. And I said, I would walk into that situation and I would get all anxious and flustered and upset that no one had taken initiative to do anything. And I would be like, where's the list? Who's doing what? You go do this, you go do that. I'm doing this. Let's all do it all, you know, because I can't stand everybody doing nothing, but everything needs to be done. Right? And I said to her, I would be the bossy person that you probably wouldn't like. And it's funny.
But it's very necessary in getting things done.
I know. And it's a strength in each character, right? But I wanted her to see that hers is a strength as well. Yes. It's not something that is not necessary. You need those people, right?
I do. Yeah.
But the listening part, like when he talks in this book about listening carefully, after I asked her that, she said, how did you think of that? And I said, because you can tell of where you're most comfortable, that's where that person is going to be most efficient. Now, if I had asked her to be the leader, and you go tell this whole room of people of what needs to be done and give everyone a job, and she said, well, then I probably would have just done it myself. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting when you start picking those things apart, right?
Totally.
But it wraps up everything. It wraps up the listening. It wraps up the making them feel important. And, you know, even just being able to bring it forth in good conversation. Like all those things together, right? And I felt like when I did these 3 chapters, I was like, these are such simple concepts, like almost to the point of, don't you know this?
Right.
But it's that creating that habits and being intentional. Like he said, he walked into the, I don't know, remember what chapter it was, but he walked into this place where the clerk wasn't very happy, and he complimented him on his hair. Like
yes.
a compliment about his hair, right? And What did he say about
Page 94,
The post office.
beginning of chapter 6.
right? What did you want to get out of him? That's
Yeah.
the concept nowadays. That's the concept nowadays, is what can I have? You know, I'm going to compliment and butter up this person because I need something. And so people don't trust that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Bringing forth
Well-
these concepts in a manner of, I don't need anything from you. I just made your day better.
And my question is for people who respond that way, like,
Is that
especially in our industry, right? Well, I don't like it when people are just friending me on Facebook because I know they want something from me. I'm like, okay, no, mindset different. We need to do better. We really need to do better, because you know what? Maybe, and I've had that happen before, where I've had people from other direct sales companies message me, guys, you know what? If people are doing this, take it as a compliment, because they're looking at your profile and they're like, wow, she'd be amazing on my team. You know what? Yeah, sure shooting, I'd be great on your team because I'm doing good where I'm at. Thank you for the compliment. It doesn't mean that they're being slippery. They're just doing their job diligently. And I can turn that around, no problem, right? You know what? No, I'm not interested in your like cloth diapers that are MLM based. You know, but maybe you're interested in my supplements. Like, who knows? And we need to believe that there's a value exchange that is being done. That person can add value to your life. You can add value to them, and no product needs to change hands. You never know.
Yeah.
I really like that this, like the first principle in this entire section was become genuinely interested in other people. And I just feel like all of the other principles were just solidifying the baby steps to how to become genuinely interested in other people. And I really feel like a lot of people can benefit from this book because it is so simple. I think we overlook it. We overlook the importance to things like smiling at people and being excessively kind to others. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't. I always think about, I can't remember who it was, but I've heard it quite often, that people will say, I remember when so-and-so, so like Brenda Martin or Wendy Larson or somebody like that you really admire. I remember when they sent me a message when I went gold, or when I went silver, I got a message from Marge or whatever. And they said how proud they were of me and how I was doing so great, and how that would mean so little to you personally to send that message. You know, Gloria, maybe you decide to send a message to somebody who's just gone silver, and it's just a thought to you and you don't think about it again, but that person holds on to that for their entire journey. Something that can cost us so little is valued so much. And especially, and I would really encourage you guys to do this, because I find a lot of joy in it. Anytime I go to convention or somewhere where there's plexus and I see somebody with a silver tag on, I will go up and give them a hug. And I will say, thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited that you're here. Because you never know. They're at the very beginning. Maybe they're, I don't want to say just an ambassador. Maybe they don't have anybody on their team yet. But to make them feel valued is huge belief building at the beginning of their journey.
I remember when Sonia Dudley sent me a personal message when I ranked Senior Ruby. You know, and I had met her and done her mindset training in Minnesota that fall. It just sticks with you. It was important because you saw her success. You saw how well she loved on people, how she was able to breathe belief into people. And if Sonia believed that I could do this, heck, like the world was waiting, right? It's
absolutely
really an impactful thing. Very.
Yeah. And I think part of that too is valuing your own influence, right? We need to see ourselves as influencers. All of you who have shown up on here, you are an influencer in your own life, in your own team. And thoughts to do things like this, you have to actually value your own influence in order to decide to reach out to people. You have no idea what that can do, even if it's a sideline and they don't know who you are, who you don't think that they know who you are, you have no idea. Super important.
We've been talking a little bit since convention about the imposter syndrome. And,
yes, I was talking about that with somebody yesterday.
How you feel, there's so many that are better than you. And we all feel it. I mean, like, seriously, especially I think in our business of where all of a sudden someone ranks up, boom, 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 gone, and you're just like, well, I could never do that. You know, I don't have A, B, C, D, and E. She does. It's all the imposter, believing that you're not as good as what they are, believing that, you know, you don't have that level of influence of what they do. You don't have the market that they do. You don't live in the right place, and possibly you still have to have a job and blah, 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 blah.
Or I'm just a fill in the rank here, or I've been working for this long and I'm not here yet.
Yes. It's all imposter syndrome. And if you don't know what it is, it's just simply believing that others are better than you, and then you choosing to stay where you're at, right? And it's
that you don't belong. You don't belong at where you are.
Mm-hmm. It's allowing that negative self-affirmation to take hold in you and paralyzing you from doing any positive action. And so when you're in that imposter syndrome, and the reason I'm talking about this is because in our Jewel session at convention, 2 of our most amazing diamonds had a very, very genuine conversation about this topic, and the whole room was crying. Now you might believe, oh, they're all jewels, they're all diamonds. There was double diamonds in there, in that room. And they acknowledge that they also deal with the imposter syndrome. We're human at the end of the day. Our rank does not define of who we are, right? Our rank doesn't define, oh, I've accomplished that, I no longer struggle with that. No, we're still human, and at the end of the day, we lie our head on the pillow with our self-doubts and our insecurities and our things that we feel that we fall short on. The difference is, are we going to claim them and keep them, or are we going to not allow them to be there, right? And I feel like when I was reading this book, and I feel like if that's where we're at, and if we're allowing that imposter syndrome, and I actually did an Instagram post on this yesterday, so you can go check it out. If we're allowing that to keep us stuck, paralyzed, you know, not doing action, we can't do these simple concepts either. They may be simple concepts, but if you yourself are stuck, how are you going to be giving? And so I related my whole imposter syndrome to the fact of you just have to start. Everything starts with small steps, right? It's just those little steps start adding up. But relating it back to the very first time that I shared my story, I had to write down my freaking name because I wasn't sure if I would, you know, in front of those people, if I'd be able to say my name, you know? And it's growing from that. And it's the only reason that you're so scared of doing that is because you feel so much less than all the people in front of you. What do I have to share, right? But when someone comes along and listens intently and listens because they care and they make you feel important and they actually, you know, want to have a genuine conversation with you, all of a sudden that just kind of relaxes and falls off of your shoulders. And then you don't have that anymore.
So I need to add to that. So along with this whole, you know, exactly what we're talking about, how to make people like you, Eva Schmidt did not see any results in her own health journey for over 5 months. Let's be completely honest. She has not seen massive amounts of weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
She is a bigger person. She's also having babies, but do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she was able to skyrocket to diamond and then have her husband come along, and he is also a diamond, and she's a ruby on her reentry. Guess how she did this? By making people like her, by making others feel important. The other parts didn't matter. She had full belief in the product, full belief in the compensation plan. What was happening in her own body was her own story, and still is, just like it's all of ours, and very inconsequential to being able to have success.
Absolutely.
Like, I love it. Like, I love that our team, if you look at our team and our sidelines, we do not look like your typical MLM, high-ranking jewel status. We do not look like the norm. And I love it. Love it.
I would not want to stand in any other group where
No.
your image and character and that, didn't come together. And our group, like, I love the picture that Janelle shared the other day, and we totally took that picture by fluke and did not realize there was an empty chair.
I know, right?
And immediately when I saw that, I said, oh, that's an amazing post, because that chair, there's room for more, right? There's room for someone else. And when you look at that picture of Mom, this was just a few rubies and up, that's all it was. When you look at that picture, there's babies, there's bigger women, there's smaller women, there's older women, there's younger women, there's everyone. There's no mold, but the character is what matters, right? And so all of these people have learned to listen carefully. They have learned to make other people feel important. They have learned to bring value to others and bring good conversation, ask the right questions. All it is often what we still already do every day, And it's like sometimes almost too simple to comprehend. Yeah. That's what builds a business.
Yeah. I was looking for Eva's post when she talked about who all of us were.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? Like, we're all so, the This Is Us post. We are all so different, and I asked one of my ambassadors who came to convention this year. She had been, I think it was last year, that she really drew her line in the sand. I made a decision about leaving the other company that she was with. She didn't want to be with them anymore. They had their hooks in her, like, financially. It was just so disheartening. And she had passion for Plexus, but she still felt like she needed to be there because just financially, she's so much stock, and they kept on asking more of her. And, she just is a sweet human. She doesn't want to let anybody down. She did make her decision. She left that company. She came over fully to Plexus. She came to convention this year. And I said to her, so what's different between this convention and the convention that you've been to in the past with your other company? And she's like, and I'm not comparing, because, it's kind of apples and oranges. But what I heard from her was the integrity of the people, the quality of the people. You didn't feel like you had to be, you didn't have to be a Miss America type in order to be in Plexus. You didn't have to look a certain way in order to rank high in this company, right? And I want to be an individual in this company. I want to see lots more people who are individualistic, who are not part of a cookie cutter mold, right? So, yeah. Anyway, just that concept with Eva had come to mind. Does anybody have any other takeaways from these 3 chapters? No?
I found it interesting on page 87 where he said, and not only important personages crave a good listener, but ordinary folks do too. As the Reader's Digest once said, many persons call a doctor when all they want is an audience. And isn't that the case for what we do? Like, sharing health and happiness, and people are often struggling with anxiety, often, in a hard place in life, struggling with health issues, and not able, or they're not wanting to tell people over and over and over what they're struggling with, and so they go to the doctor. And sometimes it's not always a health issue, right? Sometimes it's just that person that actually needs to listen, to give them that ear and to be able to be there for them.
Sorry, I am still here. I'm just trying to find a place where people aren't yelling. It's like next to impossible.
What are you finding?
A place where nobody's yelling.
Oh.
I would love to hear from a couple other people if it's possible.
Yes, please unmute yourself, speak up, share whatever stands out, or share a story of how this has been impactful, like in where you've had experiences. You've all had experiences.
Or we're just going to start picking on people.
Okay.
No, just kidding. I'm really excited about what we were talking about first, about this whole concept of having somebody actually fill out something that tells us all more about them. And I really want to develop this more, because this is just, thank you, Carrie, for that. Because that, again, it's not, I mean, it's brilliant, but it's not something I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of those things, it's like, why didn't we think about this sooner? Same thing with all this stuff, right? Why are we not talking about this all the time?
Yeah.
Even though this book is very, very different than our Maxwell books that we've been reading, and just format wise, it's kind of taken me a little bit to wrap my brain around, because it's a lot of stories. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a book that everybody needs to read.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also developing these habits in your mindset, and especially when you're bringing them to Plexus. When you start talking to someone, to think consciously, how can I make this person feel important? See what's going on in their lives. Be aware of where they're at and what they're doing, recognize, right? Listen to the topics that they're talking about. What are their interests? Why are they passionate about that? Find something that they're passionate about. Sometimes it's hard to draw that out of people, right? Not everybody shares it passionately. And
well, we talk about it, that people leave people, not product. Where did that ever come from? I say it all the time.
Maxwell.
Sorry?
Maxwell.
Yeah. And I really think that these principles can help us just be more aware of what is actually important. Mm-hmm. And I think if we do really commit to this, to putting this into place, our retention levels are going to go through the roof. And if we're able to duplicate this down to our teams and teach them how important this is, not retention for the sake of business retention, but you'll create a happier culture of people that genuinely want to be with one another because they're finding value. And maybe that's just really the kicker. They will stay someplace where they feel that A, they have value, mm-hmm. and B, they're adding value. Something is needed, right?
I think that's twofold. They're adding value, and that they have value, right? Like even just thinking back 2 weeks ago to our gold retreat, and how we so recognized how incredibly culture-based our company is. And the 4 things that Kristen talked about were not, things that we can do alone. They were all things that you do together with other like-minded people, because you have found a group of people that your brain and your heart says, I want to do that, right? I want what she has. And then you come along, and then you follow, and then you tell your friends and say, look what I found. And then they follow you. It's like that magnetic draw of a similar interest. And really, it starts with the culture. It starts with what you're offering as a culture and as a community. The products are the icing. because plexus makes us happy.
Yes. I think that social media is the perfect place to practice this, because where do you have access to this many people in a day who are posting things that they're obviously interested in? Because you don't post something you're not terribly interested in. You can start a conversation with them. You can start to kind of decode what this person is all about if you don't know them well. And yeah, I think that we do need to do more work on doing the belly to belly stuff, even if it's this, right? Because sometimes we've got teams that are international. You cannot possibly go for coffee with somebody who is, thousands of kilometers away from you. But you can do this. You can do messenger calls. You can do all sorts of different things to get to know your people better. And it can honestly just be, hey, let's get to know you. I spent about 45 minutes talking about hair with one of my newer runners on my team the other day. And I was like, this is so much fun. Like I'm relating to you. You are now another one of my Jasmine Ray Hair Co. people that we're both on the same hair journey, and we're doing the whole thing, right? It's another layer to the relationship. It wasn't on purpose, but once I realized that we were doing it, it was a purposeful, like I kept the conversation going, right? And sometimes I need work on that kind of stuff too, because I'll squirrel.
Really? I have really weird bird activity happening in front of my window. So when you see my eyes, all of a sudden,
I don't know what you're.
I know there's like two magpies fighting in the tree right in front of my window, and I'm like, "Would you get out of here?" I don't know what they're doing. It keeps surprising me, so it looks weird, but interesting paragraph on page 97 on the top, where this really brings it into action. You don't have to wait until you're an ambassador to France or a chairman of the Clam Bake Committee.
Yes.
Of your lodge before you use this philosophy of appreciation. You can work magic with it almost every day. You can do this one person at a time, and you don't have to be, any rank or any position or anything. This is just simply person to person. And the page before that, where he talks about do unto others as you would have others do unto you. It's just such a very simple concept. But when put into action, that it looks differently, that people sense and feel, being listened to, feeling important, and having that conversation of interest of each other, right?
Totally. Okay. Well, we said we were going to do this quickly, and it's been 45 minutes. So, hey, watch us go quick.
All right.
So we're starting part 3, how to win people to your way of thinking. It's a 10-chapter section, I think. 10? Nope, there's 11, 12. So there's 12. So basically through this section and the next, we've got, it's sort of halfsies, right? You can see the book is sort of. When do we want to be finished this study so that we can go on?
Well, we've got September coming. So we can do the next 2 Saturdays. Are we going to do the 31st as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about doing it on Friday.
Right.
Friday night, if that's possible, to do it on the 30th. So that we get it done. We don't miss it for Super Saturday Express. Make sure you guys are signed up for that, because it's always amazing, and block off your morning. Does not work to just half listen. Trust me.
No. And
I tried.
There was several last session that said, oh, I just, couldn't participate because there was so much going on, and they thought it would be shared later live, and it wasn't.
It's not.
Yeah.
No. So it's going to be amazing. Make sure you tell your teams, get everybody excited about that, because we want to make sure that I think about the amount of training that we had at the beginning, like when I started, and I think about it now, like it's awesome. So there's there's 12 chapters. I really like the concept of starting to discuss something within our chat, but I don't want to leave too heavy an assignment for people to feel like they can't do this.
And I feel like with Leaders Retreat being, down to the last 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should possibly not put assignments in for this month, and then just
Okay.
see, because we can, like, these 3 chapters is not hard to cover.
No.
Should we go for 4 next week?
Yeah, let's do that.
They're all like really good concepts, and they also tie one into the other quite easily.
I was all excited because chapter 4 is called A Drop of Honey, and I'm like, oh, honey, we get to talk about that. I'm so excited.
That.
Ah, and it's so true.
It is. It's so true.
So we'll do up to chapter 4. We'll discuss, and we'll try to do it kind of the same way as we did it this morning, so that we kind of go over the whole thing. Bring your thoughts, bring your comments, be ready to unmute that. Part of getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself past where you previously would be comfortable. I love to see videos on. I get sometimes early in the morning. You don't think it's a pretty picture, but I do love to see facial interaction, those kinds of things. And don't be afraid to unmute yourself and talk. That is a huge step for a lot of people. So then I think, 1 to 4 next week. And then my favorite one so far is chapter 5.
Mm-hmm. Carrie, I would love to hear the questions that are on your Get to Know You worksheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your favorite pet? What is your favorite restaurant? What are your favorite flowers? And then there's what else is on there? Just, your favorite TV show. It talks about, your children, if you will. And then it talks about what some of your goals and what are some of your top 3 goals. And then it also talks about how would you like to be recognized, privately or publicly? And I think that's such a valuable question on there, because I never ever would want to embarrass somebody or make them feel uncomfortable if it was at a staff meeting and I was raving about their performance and it made them feel uncomfortable, because I want the opposite effect.
Yes.
So if they tell me in that sheet that they want to be recognized privately, then I will absolutely respect that. And I feel that any recognition I give them, if I do it the way they want it, it creates and carries more value that way. And so to me, that was a fantastic question. So I have it on an email, PDF, so I can certainly send it to Janelle if you'd like that. Yeah. To see that.
We would love that.
Yeah, my friend Darcy Lang, motivational speaker, included it in her most recent book, which was really neat. And I was very honored and I shared it at Tangerine the other day when I was picking up vegan donuts for one of my staff members, because I wanted to recognize her. And I knew that vegan donuts were something that meant so much to her. And so I brought some for her and some of my leadership team. So that really created powerful an impact on her and the rest of my team. And then, I got this beautiful text from her last night saying how much it meant to her that I brought her vegan donuts. So it's a small, it didn't cost a lot of money, but because I listened to when she said how much she loved it, I went out of my way to find them in Regina, which is not easy, by the way. But I found them, and there we go. So that's just a small experience. And so when I was buying them at Tangerine, I told the manager why I was buying these donuts and about my All About Me form. And she, like you, were so excited about that concept. She's like, I need to start using that with my team too. So happy to share that document with you girls.
I'm just in
That's
my brain
awesome.
already seeing, if you were to, share that with the new ambassador and say, hey, let's do this together. Let's get to know each other a little bit, and how you could go back to that and say, how can I recognize her? Right?
That's so true.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things I've worked at a few different hotels, but one of the hotels when I was there, I had all the staff do it. And then somebody came to me and said, we want you to fill one out, Carrie, and to post it up in the staff room so we could get to know you too. And I was like, why not? Absolutely. Because it can go back and forth, right? Because these new ambassadors that come onto our team, we want to open up to them too, and to allow them to get to know us. So, it could be reciprocal. It could certainly go both ways. You show me yours, I'll show you mine kind of thing, right? And then you may find some commonalities that you never even knew that existed, and it just deepens that relationship right off the start, and it sends the message that you care so much about that new person joining your team.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's one thing that I often struggle with, and that's just simply, people look at how long you've been in Plexus and your rank and things like that, and then they're like almost putting you on a pedestal. And I just, please, can we burn?
Please don't.
Can we not have soapboxes? Can we burn the pedestals? Can we just all stand side by side, And
Yeah.
I think by doing that, by opening up and showing them who you are as well, it's just like, come alongside. I'm not above you. Like I hate the concept of being above someone, but I want to come alongside and use those strengths, because bringing in a new person just because they're new in Plexus doesn't mean that they don't have incredible talents that I don't have. Right. And that they could, do wonders with. So I love
Absolutely.
that. My brain is
I
already.
love it.
Yeah.
I know.
Let's do that.
Customize one. Yeah, you take that concept
Absolutely.
and customize it to what questions are relevant to our world here in Plexus.
Fun
Well,
project.
and even having in there, one of them being, what are your top 3 health goals, so that you can reference them later. And then when the person is like, oh, it's not working, and be like, oh, but remember, you're sleeping better. Remember, you told me that you are sleeping better. That was one of your top health goals, right? Being able to refresh that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Hey, thank you ladies all for this morning. Really, really loved it. And we will catch you again next week. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Coming. See you, ladies.
Bye.